Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, today I want to debunk cruise ship myths. That's right. The old wise tales of this is what a cruise is, because boy, it's changed since I first started cruising when I was 20 to now. So right off the bat, the first one I'd like to talk about is cruising is just old people. And when I say old people, they're saying, people in their 70s and 80s and 90s, or some of us sometimes in our 50s who feel like we're 70, 80, and 90 as well. But nothing can be further from the truth. There's reasons that cruise ships are now putting on huge water parks, and they're putting flow riders, and they're putting skydiving and roller coasters. It's because they attract a younger crowd. In fact, the age average on some cruise lines and cruise ships nowadays are in the 30s. So it's no longer, absolutely no longer considered an old person's holiday. There are traditional cruise lines out there that you can book that does have an older clientele, but there are also tons and tons of choice options for the younger crowd. And I know plenty and plenty of 20-year-old cruisers who absolutely love it and would not change that kind of vacation for anything. Number two goes right in hand. A lot of people say there's nothing to do on a cruise. Well, if you pick a ship that's very, very small and it's port itinerary, it's not going to have a whole lot of bells and whistles on it. But that's your choice. People like that kind of cruising. People choose that kind of cruise ship. There's tons of cruise ships out there that you could spend all day running around doing things on, from go-karts to laser tags to roller skating to bumper cars to Broadway shows to dining tours to, basically everything. Even escape rooms are on cruise ships. Roller coasters are on cruise ships. There are huge 3D arcades are on cruise ships nowadays. And anyone who says there's nothing to do, you're looking at the wrong ships. Because there is more to do on some cruise ships than there is to do at Disney sometimes. So, yeah, that's debunked. Number three, bad food and small portions. Well, first of all, bad food is subjective. If you're looking for bad food, it's going to be bad food. Sometimes the food can be mediocre on some ships, I'll admit, in some places. But usually you could upgrade to specialty dining and you will have a much better meal. Most cruise lines nowadays pay close attention. Their buffets are normally very, very good. They have great sandwich areas. They have great, dessert areas. They take care to have half-decent food for the normal person out there. If you're a big-time foodie, then yeah, you should stick to the specialty restaurants as far as portions are concerned. I just did 35 days in Asia, was home for 21 days, and then did 35 days in the Caribbean. And during those two sections of cruises, I gained 25 pounds. So yeah, and I don't eat a lot on cruises. I'm not one of those people who eat 5 and 6 meals a day. I'm lucky sometimes to have one meal a day, and I still, the food portions were so huge, a lot of the times I couldn't finish them, including the specialty restaurants. There are plenty of times that I ate on the specialty restaurants, and yeah, okay, I better leave this because there's still more coming and I want to try that food. So absolutely, small portions, kind of a myth. And you know what? Most cruise ships, in fact, every cruise ship I've been on, you could order 2, you could order 3, you could order 4 of a main course meal. So even if there was a small portion, you could double and triple it up. So yeah, small portions, I don't think so. Number 4, every cruise port is filled with 9 and 10 cruise ships and it's just super busy and you don't really get to see anything. Well, some ports, yes. Cozumel will be very, very busy quite often. San Juan can be very, very busy. There are ports that are going to be more busy than others. But that's why you choose your itinerary and you choose your cruise ship that can go to those smaller ports if that's what you want to do. I've been on cruise ships that got off and we basically doubled the size of the town we were at. And there was so much to do. And the people just welcomed us with open arms. They couldn't wait for us to get on because it's a huge boon to their industry and their tourism when a cruise ship does go. There are some ports out there that a cruise ship arrives twice a year. And boy, do they celebrate when you get there. So if you think you're just big, big ports, look around or ask some people because there's plenty of places out there that you can get away from it all, and definitely there won't be another ship around for miles. Number 5, people keep to themselves on a cruise ship. And in a way, yes, you can. You can take your whole cruising vacation by yourself and just, do what you want to do and don't talk to anybody. But guess what? If you want to talk to people and meet people, cruising is one of the best vacations you can possibly do. To this day, I've known people 15, 20, 25 years that I met cruising that we've never cruised again, but we still wish each other Merry Christmas. We're still friends on we email back and forth. We used to write letters when we were younger. You can meet some amazing, amazing people. And yes, some people like to keep to themselves, but I'll tell you, you sit in that front row in a theater waiting for the show to start and strike up a conversation. Chances are the people in that front row are very eager to talk and just like to have fun and talk about cruising and talk about the shows. And who knows, you may just have some best friends by the time you leave the cruise. Number 6, the staff is rude. Well, let's face it. Everybody can have a bad day. Everybody can have enough of people complaining to them all day or ordering them around all day or working 12 hours and then somebody at the last minute wants something or, that is obvious or that you had already asked them if they want it. Would you like extra towels? No, we don't need any. Don't worry about it. Nothing. Then you're just about to get off work and the person calls up the attendant says, oh, we need more towels. We already asked you if you wanted them. But so yeah, everyone can lose a little bit. But generally speaking, overall, cruise ship staffs work for gratuities. And they are some of the most polite and well-mannered people in the service industry that you'll meet. And they are monitored by their officers all the time because they want to see people greeted with a smile. They want, your stateroom attendant, and if you ask them for something or ask them to do something, they'll gladly do it. They'll absolutely gladly do it because they work for gratuities and they want your vacation to be good because if your vacation is good, you just might leave an extra tip for them along the way. So it's in their best interest as well. And guess what? Everyone likes to be greeted with a smile. If you walk up to somebody and you're like this, well, yeah, you might just get back. But if you walk up and say, hi, I was wondering if you could do something for me, chances are they're going to do it and be happy to do it. And I think service in the cruise industry is pretty darn good. I'm going to get sick with the norovirus and I'm going to fall off the cruise ship. Well, well, you might get sick. It does happen. It sometimes happens. There are things you can do on a cruise ship to keep that from happening. You can avoid touching everything that you're walking around doing. You could wash your hands going into the buffet and when you leave the buffet and use sanitizers. So, yeah, guess what? While the cruise ship industry is known for norovirus, if you look at hotels and all the different destinations and things you can do in spas, and cruise ships actually are one of the lowest places that you could possibly catch norovirus. In fact, the entire cruise industry last year The entire cruise industry for the year had less cases of norovirus than one small hotel chain. I'm not talking the big chains. I'm talking a small, mediocre hotel chain. So if you think it's just related to cruise ships, you're completely wrong. So now, as far as falling overboard, let's face it, one time out of 10,000, somebody actually falls off by accident. The rest of the time, it's either on purpose or some kind of narcotic, alcohol, drug, something was involved, or they were doing something foolish, like climbing up on the railing and hanging out over the railing for a selfie. The rest of the time, so yeah, I've been out on a balcony in the middle of a typhoon where the ship is rocking like this, and I was fine. There was no, I wasn't falling, I was no chance of falling overboard at all, because these things are not built to have anybody fall overboard. So if you think that's a reason to not cruise and you think that happens all the time, it's completely the opposite again. Number 8, there's too many kids on board. Well, cruise lines actually love kids because they bring their parents and they spend more money. But here's the thing. I was just on a cruise ship that had almost 1,000 people under the age of 15 on the cruise ship. And I think I saw 20 during my cruise, a 7-day cruise. Because they're in the kids clubs, they're in the kids water parks, they're in the arcades, they're in places I'm generally not. And there are plenty of cruise lines like Princess Cruise Lines, Cunard Cruise Lines, Celebrity Cruise Lines, where while there are things for kids to do, the cruise line itself is not set up to attract a ton of children. So there are so many places and so many cruise ships out there that really shouldn't be a consideration. Other than, guess what? Don't cruise on the big ships with a lot of water slides and everything at Christmas or spring break or in the summer. Then you won't have any issues with kids at all. And you know what? Having a lot of kids on board, as long as you have a place you can go like an adult area or a retreat, you hardly ever see them anyway. Number 9, cruises are not for solo cruisers. Well, the cruise lines are finally starting to wake up to this. Unfortunately, one of my favorite cruise lines right now, Princess Cruise Lines, is still behind on this. They haven't been building any solo cabins, but Norwegian has built solo cabins. Royal Caribbean now has solo balcony cabins, and numerous other cruise ships are coming along and thinking that way and setting aside areas that are not full price as 2 people, but maybe 1.5 price. So it's still a little cheaper for people. But as somebody who cruises 90 times out of 100 easily by myself, I can definitely tell you cruise lines cater to solo cruisers as well as single cruisers. They will put you at a big table. They will put you at a small table for dining. It's up to you. They don't care. They really do just want you to be on the cruise ship and have a good time. As far as finding the ships that accommodate a solo cruiser, we do have to pay double most of the time. So that's why I look for sales or single supplement sales, or I look at a solo cabin. That ship that Tony and I stayed on, we each had that solo balcony on the Spectrum of the Seas with the 2 big huge balconies, one on each side of the ship. Those were great, and I am told Royal Caribbean says that their new ships are going to have more and more of that. I was just looking at the Harmony and the Independent, and they're starting to have some solo cabins as well. So as ships go in for refit and they're building new cabins and they're building new ships, I think you're going to see more and more cabins set up for solo cruises. Number 10, I can't even believe that this is a thing that some people have actually said. That food choices on a cruise ship are really limited. I just got off the Norwegian Encore, and it had 20 different restaurants on board. Everything from Italian to Asian to barbecue to American, you name it, it had a ton of choices. If you can't find food to your liking on some of these ships, I have a feeling it's more your food tastes than the choices available, because cruise ships have a more variety than any resort that you'll ever stay at. That's for sure. And so food choice is limited. I don't see that at all. I see some of these cruise ships have more choices that I could do in a 14-day cruise. I could eat every day at 2 different restaurants on some ships and never get to all the restaurants. So is there a limit in food choice? No, I don't think so. I think you have a wide option available to you. And some of those restaurants are amazing on these cruise ships. Truly amazing food. And the chefs take a really good care. Try a couple chef's tables once in a while when you're on a cruise ship. You have to book it directly usually once you get on the ship. Just ask if they're having a chef's table, because I've had some of the best meals I've ever had during a chef's table demonstration. Well, there you go. There's 10 myths that I find that a lot of people come out with, and they say these kind of things, like the ships are just in big ports and there's no food and there's small portions, and yeah, I don't see it anymore. I don't see it. Maybe back when the Love Boat was going on, there was no food choices, there was no, solo cabins as much, there was, no room on board, but that's completely the opposite nowadays. There's so much to do, so much good food, and so many amazing itineraries out there to check out. And speaking of that, coming up soon, I'm going to announce where I'm going to go this year. I've already got 2 booked, and I'm looking at 3 others, and then we'll see after that. But I've got some really interesting choices coming up this year. Stay tuned for that. Well, I hope you appreciate this update. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. You want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.